Oops. Today's webinar, let me just make sure that I've got to start. Yes, I have. Today's webinar, we're going to be looking at the Daily Sparkle, the printed weekly sparkles, and the Daily Sparkle app. That's what we're going to cover today. And the whole idea is to really help you as much as possible to get the very best out of the resources that we're providing for you. So a little catch up. Are you all getting the Daily Sparkles? Now, because we're on mute, I just need to ask you to put that into the chat box. Is anybody that is online right now not getting your Daily Sparkles? Yeah, it's all looking good. It's all looking good. Okay. Have you all bookmarked the page for the Daily Sparkles? Because of the we had a little technical difficulty. Basically, the Elizabeth Finn homes were all stopped from using the links. So we suggested that you all bookmark the page. You put it into the browser and you bookmark the page. Have you been able to do that? If you haven't, just let me know by, oh, bookmarked it. Well done, Amanda. Very good. Joanna's done it. Yay. Oh, fantastic. We'll do, yes. Oh, we're getting a lot of positive replies. That's great. Have you all got the app? Once again, just let me know through the chat box. If you've got the app, just say yes to app or something like that. Okay, okay, great. That's all very positive. If you have any technical problems, maybe you can just put those into the chat box, because we will get everything sorted. We want everything to go really well for you. So let us know via the chat box. And have you read the user guide? The user guide is really quite important. It probably covers everything I'm going to cover today, but nevertheless, it's in black and white, and you know, you can read it at your leisure. So I'm going to move on. Right, the Daily Sparkle. This is really quite an unbelievable device. It's very simple, as you know, which means that everybody can use it. It's customized for each of your homes. There's, as you can see, a lot of work has gone into it to make it as evocative and as pleasurable for your residents as possibly can be. The sparkles work because they're dead easy to use. You can use them anytime, anywhere, with anyone, actually. And any of your staff that are working in the care homes, they don't have to be activity staff to be able to use them, because they can get a copy of the Daily Sparkle and they can have a chat with anybody in the residence. So it's not just exclusively for the activity workers, but in fact, it's better if it's not exclusive. It's better if as many people in the care home use it to engage with the residents as possible. As you know, older people rarely think about the future very much. They're mostly occupied with their past, with things that have happened. And their memories are among their most precious possessions. What's brilliant about the Sparkles is that as you're having a chat with the residents, you do get to hear the smaller details of their lives, and that is basically the biggest help that you could possibly have for person-centered care. Because if you can get to know their little memories, the things that really mean a lot to them, their likes, their dislikes, the things that, oh, I wouldn't want to see that again. You know, you're getting a lot of information, and that information can be recorded into your care plan so that you know the residents much better than you would do otherwise. And I have to say that this is especially useful as people progress in their dementia and they start moving into the sort of moderate dementia or even advanced dementia. Especially in advanced dementia, they may not be very communicative, but because you know the person from having spoken to them and learned about them through the Daily Sparkle on previous occasions, you will know how to best work with that resident. The Sparkles, they have 4 pages of 4 columns. One is on this day, which just talks about the things that have happened on this particular day. This one that I've got on screen right now is the 12th of June. And so it will look back into history and look at the things that happened in recent history on the 12th of June. That is usually very evocative. And the way we were, that's mainly, that's written by one of our female writers. And it's mainly, it would pick up a lot of things which are especially relevant to women, to the ladies. So there'll be a lot of domestic reminiscences in there. On the next page, this page 2, that's life. That's written by one of our male writers, and that is quite often more about things which would appeal to the men. So there'll be things about racing cars and sports and all the things which men were especially busy with 50 or 60 years ago. Over to you, I can highly recommend that when you're having chats with your residents, maybe you want to just make some notes and send them in to us, because as residents have their memories and they talk about the things which are dear to them, we publish them. And I can tell you that if you've got a resident whose article has been published, it gives them an amazing sort of self-esteem boost to see their story in the Daily Sparkle. On page 3, we've got the quizzes and the sing-along. Bob Dylan there. The quizzes, as you know, I'm sure I don't have to tell you, they're always very popular with the residents. Just to say about the quizzes, some of them are very easy. The reason for that is that we want residents to succeed in the quizzes. We don't particularly want them to fail. That's not good for them. We want them to succeed. So the quizzes are pitched so that residents can succeed. Now, occasionally we put in a harder quiz for the people who are more able. But when you're working with the quizzes, what is really good to do is keep on giving little clues and little hints so that people eventually do get the right answer. We want them to succeed. And on the back page, we have the carers notes. Now, these are the key to having meaningful conversations. If you just read through them before you start your day, you'll see that there's a little bit more information about each of the columns. That means that when it comes to having a conversation with one of your residents, that you can really speak with some level of knowledge, and it helps you to engage better. It helps you to be able to comment on on what they say and to be able to ask the right questions. There's always a range of questions there which are there to help you kick off the conversation. Just to say that the questions are a mixture. Most of them are reminiscence questions, but also because we want to promote cognitive stimulation therapy, what we do is we ask some questions which So a reminiscence question will be asking a resident to look back into their past, look back into their memory. Whereas a cognitive stimulation question is not really asking them to look into their memory, but asking them to think, basically, to think about which politician do they most admire and why, for example. That uses a different part of the brain. It stimulates a different part of the brain. It revitalizes the neural pathways, and cognitive stimulation therapy is basically one of the highly recommended therapies that come from the National Institute for Care Excellence. It's very highly prized. Okay, using the Daily Sparkles, we have looked at it, and the basic ways that people use the Daily Sparkles are one-to-ones, bedroom visits, and chit-chat clubs, or if you're in a home where it's a bit highbrow, then you can call them discussion groups. Up to you, really. So let's have a look at those. One-to-ones and bedroom visits. Now, I'm speaking to you, you've got loads of experience yourselves, and you will know for yourself that residents love to have company. They love to have the company where they are the focus. So having a one-to-one or a bedroom visit where you're working one-to-one with the resident, that can be their most prized moments of the day. The Sparkles work very well with people who isolate. Sometimes there are, well, I think there are always people who tend to isolate. They don't come along for activities. They tend to stay in their bedrooms or come out but sit by themselves. And they may have other reasons, but basically, I don't think that most people really want to isolate. It's just that they lose their confidence in social engagement. And the Sparkles are a very, very good way of meeting the people who isolate, having something to talk about them. You've got something in your hand that you're going to meet them with, and you get every opportunity then to engage with them. There are, I think, what is it, for 120, about 120 different articles every month in the Sparkles. And if you know the people who isolate, and you know that they maybe were in the RAF, or that they have an interest in flying, or they went on holiday a lot, etc., and you see that there's an article about planes, for example, then you know that you could go to that person who isolates and you have something that they are interested in. That's the main thing. Finding articles which correspond with a person's interests, because that will obviously have a much better chance of working than, let's say, if somebody talked to me about yachting, for example, I would not be interested because I've never done it and it doesn't interest me. But if you talk to me about football, well, that would be an entirely different matter. I'd be right into that conversation right from the start. So understanding a person's interests and finding articles which correspond to those interests will give you a head start. It will make it so much easier for you to engage. I'm going to switch that off. The Sparkles give you an excuse to connect and engage, and this is good to know from the point of view of all the other people who are working in the care home. Let's say you have a carer who is there, and they keep to their own job. They don't. They say, "Oh, engaging with the residents is not part of my job." Um, Often it's because they don't have confidence to engage. They're a bit scared of it. But the having something like the Daily Sparkle gives you um, it gives you an excuse to go and connect with the residents. Um, I think we've provided you, or we're going to provide you, with a whole home pack, which gives all of the care roles within the care home their own Daily Sparkle about their particular job, how it looked 50, 60 years ago. And this is all an effort to try and stimulate the whole home approach, whereby it's not just you that have to that are engaged in um, working with the residents, but everybody in the whole care home could, as they're passing somebody, they could say, "Oh, Mary, I saw a little article here. Let's have a chat about it." It gives everybody an excuse to engage. Um, And finally, be aware of the topics of columns. Um, I'm repeating what I said before, actually. Uh, help um, help the residents by honing in on their interests and using articles which are corresponding to those interests. So that's the one-to-ones. That's just a general overview of how you can use them brilliantly for that purpose. Now, why am I not going forward? Oh. Chit chat clubs and discussion groups, they're the same thing, basically. Um, Generally speaking, these are absolutely brilliant ways of using the Daily Sparkle. It's a social event, as opposed to a one-to-one, which is more you working with a particular resident. These are social events, and generally speaking, we say 2 to 8 people, 2 to 8 residents, because if it gets more than that, it can become a bit it, it can result in some people sort of sitting back and feeling not part of the group. But if you've got 2 to 8, that is very, very manageable. Ideally around a table, and ideally with a cup of tea and a cake if possible. Make it a regular event, same time, same place, same day every week, and it becomes part of what you do in the care home. When you do it in that way, you'll find that if you run a chit chat club every Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock, you'll find that you'll start getting a gathering. People will come back again and again and again for it. And how I run chit chat clubs is I sit down with my Daily Sparkle, but I've got a copy for the Daily Sparkle for everybody that's at the chit chat club, and they've all got that copy in front of them. They can see the images and the photos, etc. And what I do is I look to see, is there anybody that's in that gathering who could read out an article? And if there is, then give them that opportunity, because then they have the opportunity to contribute and to feel that they're still useful. And that is an amazing gift to give them. So have the article read out and then start talking, or ask the group, what do you think? What do you think, Mary? What do you think, John? Um, uh, just start the conversation, and then basically sit back and just let the conversation flow. It doesn't matter whether the conversation moves away from what you were talking originally, or what the article was about. You can have an article about football and finish up talking about baking. It doesn't matter, as long as people are engaging and there's a sense of sharing the moment with each other. One thing I would say about chit chat clubs is, once again, you may find that somebody just sits back a bit and stops engaging, and you'll notice that. What you want to do then is to find a question that you can direct at to that person. So if Mary, for example, hasn't said anything, she looks disengaged, she's not really, she's not really joining in, then you could say to it, Mary, what do you think about whatever the article is, or whatever the conversation, wherever the conversation has got to. So by asking Mary by name, what it does is it gives a message to everybody that this is a question for Mary, not for anybody else to answer. And it brings Mary back into the group. Sometimes you do get people who want to sort of comment on everything. They tend to dominate the group, and in that situation, people can take a back seat because they don't feel involved. So asking a question directly to a person using their name will get them back involved again. And then you just, you all have these fantastic skills as an activity coordinator, and they're people skills. They're the skills that you have probably in abundance where other people in the care home don't have them. So use those skills, identify people when they're not engaging, and help them to engage. Just ask the occasional question and sort of just support them to be involved. Right, the printed weekly Sparkle. Now, this is great for visiting relatives. In fact, this is why it was created. What we had when we first started off, we had comments coming back saying to us, oh, one of our relatives picked up, one of our visiting relatives picked up a copy of the Daily Sparkle, and they came back and they said it was fantastic to talk with their loved ones about. So what we did was we created a printed weekly Sparkle, which is especially for visiting relatives. So use every way you can to support visiting relatives to use the Sparkles. What happens is that they have something other than the weather to talk about, which is fantastic, and they have much more meaningful conversations. And because of that, they enjoy their visit more. The resident enjoys their visits more, and what they tend to do is they tend to come back more often to visit their relatives. So these are all different ways of getting other people to do your job for you. If you can get visitors coming back more often to visit their relatives, that's got to be a good thing. So what you can do with the printed weekly Sparkles is you can, what we suggest is that they are put next to the signing in book. When people come to visit the home, they usually sign in on the book, and at that time, if there's a copy of the printed weekly Sparkle next to the signing in book, they can feel invited to take it along on their visits. Hopefully they'll return it to where they found it. Not always the case, but hopefully they will. The other thing is, if you see a visiting relative coming in, you can suggest to them, why don't you take this weekly Sparkle along with you, and have a look and see if there's something which is of interest to both yourself and your loved one. So that's the printed weekly Sparkles. We move on. The Daily Sparkle app. The Daily Sparkle app is actually a brilliant app, and don't mind me saying. If you haven't already got it, you go to www.dailysparkle.co.uk/app, and you can find out how to get it. It's very, very easy. So what the app contains is, when you get when you get it downloaded to your device, whether it's an iPad or a tablet or smartphone, this will be the first thing that you'll be asked to do. and you put in your account ID. Your account ID is the usually the 5-digit number, which is on the header of your emails that you get sent, which identifies you as one of our subscribers. And then in the email address, you put in the address for your home, which is inquiries dot, and then the name of the home, etc. The rest of the EFHL email address. Then you simply click login, and that should get you in. And what you'll see first of all is this. Now, depending on the speed of your internet, this may take just 1 minute to download, or it may even take half a minute. It may even take up to 30 minutes. If your internet is very slow, it will take a bit of time because it needs to retrieve the information. But anyway, what I would suggest is that you click on the Daily Sparkle, for example, and then that will start downloading. This is, once you've clicked on the Daily Sparkle, you'll get this screen, and it will show all of the editions for that week, but they're in sort of a very pale orange color. Once they become live, then they become a much deeper orange color, and you know, when you see that, you know that they have arrived on your app. So you can look at this week's edition, and if you click on the 10th of June, you will get this. And this is a screenshot of what you'll have on your app, which is the Daily Sparkle, but it's on the app. It makes it very mobile. You can just carry your iPad around and show people that way. People do actually love having a newspaper in their hand. It's something that they've had all their lives. So if it was a Daily Sparkle that you want to use, I would suggest in most cases use the newspaper, because it is something which is reminiscent already of something which is very familiar to them. On the screen there, you'll see there's a forward button, and that will take you to page 2, and then page 3, and then the back page, the carer's notes. Clicking the one above will play the music. You can print it from the iPad or whatever, as long as it's connected to a printer, of course. Clicking on the left-hand side icon with the white circle with the cross in it, or the diagonal cross, will take you back to the home screen, back to the previous screen again. And clicking on the home button will take you back to the screen which I showed you before, which had Daily Sparkle, music, and quizzes on it. And of course, you can scroll back to the previous page. On this one, you can't, because it's page 1. So, but if you had clicked through to page 2 or 3, you could always use the back button to go back to the previous page. Okay. So this would be page 3 on the Daily Sparkle, etc. So coming back down again, looking back onto the home screen again, if you click on music, that again will take a little while. As long as the app is open and you're connected with the Wi-Fi, the music will download whether you're there or not. So you can get on with other things. What we suggest is on Monday morning that you get everything loaded up on your app, because that is all the information, all the different resources that you got for the whole week. So if you do it on a Monday morning, make it a sort of a routine, then if it takes a little while, then at least you're prepared for the rest of the week. So clicking on that music app, that music button, will open this screen. You can see down below here where it says downloading 1 of 22. That play all button there is the one that does take the longest to load up. As I say, if you've got quick internet, then it loads up within a minute. But if you've got slow internet, then it'll take longer. But the play all, what that does is that will play every single song on the playlist for the month. And being as there are 30 or 31 songs from the Daily Sparkle each month, you'll have 30 or 31 songs to play. Just a note about the songs, they're picked especially to cover the general interests of your residents. Music is an amazing way of engaging with residents, as you know already. But what we do out of, let's say there were 30 songs, generally speaking, how we would arrange it would be that there were 10 which come from the sort of the traditional standbys of British music. So things that they will have learned when they were at school, even Duke and John Peel, and sort of English Country Garden, all the songs which are the staple diet of older people. So there'd be 10 of those. There would be 10 from the post-war era, such as the sort of Bing Crosby, the Frank Sinatra, that type of singer. Vera Lynn would be in that category, and the other 10 would be early rock and roll, because, as you know, a lot of your residents will be rock and roll fans of one type or another, and so we try and provide a mix of all the different songs for you, so that there will be something for everyone. Playing the play all will give you, it will just go on continuously for an hour. You can use it as background music if that's what you'd like to do, or you can scroll through the play all and find the particular piece of music that you're looking for. Underneath that is the mystery voice. If you were, let's say, if you downloaded it on your smartphone, you'll have a reading here of how the downloading is going. It will just tell you that's it's downloading number 3 of 30. As I say, if you've got good internet, then it will do that quite quickly. So the mystery voice, click on that and it downloads very, very quickly usually. And the mystery voice is somebody whose voice we've recorded from a previous time, from the time when your residents were in the prime of their lives. And it could be a politician, it could be a celebrity, it could be a singer, it could be a sports personality, but somebody who there's a reasonable likelihood that they will recognize that voice. So all you do is you click on the play button, listen to the voice, and then you can reveal the answer afterwards. Once again, if you can, the best way to use this is to help the resident get the answer. And if you just have a quick look through these types of resources beforehand, and look at the answer before you actually show it to anybody, then you may be able to just help them. Let's say it's Winston Churchill, but they don't recognize the voice immediately. You can say, well, this person was the Prime Minister of Britain during the war. He had a famous speech. His initials are WC. His first name was Winston, and you can keep on giving little clues like that so that they can get the answers themselves. The next one I'm showing you, the next screen is a Spot the Tune screen. This is a nice little quiz. Spot the Tune used to be a very famous TV program, actually, and many people will remember this, and many people have played it themselves. So once again, you click on the play button. It plays a snatch of the tune, usually sort of 20 to 30 seconds of a tune or a song, and then you're asking the residents, can you name that tune? And once again, if you've had a look beforehand, you will be able to help them with that. Excuse me, I just have to do something here. Right, sorry about that. Yes, there are 5 different Name That tunes every week. So that's a very enjoyable little thing that you can do. As I say, you can do it on a bedroom visit. If you have your app with you, you can easily do this with people who are staying in their beds, or people who are isolating, or just on a general one-to-one level. And the final category there, as far as the audio sounds are concerned, is sound effects, and these are fantastic. You'll see what they are from your playlist, but they're a different way of getting people to reminisce. So if it's you can play a sound effect, and if it's, say, the sound of a steam train, for example, that will jolt a lot of memories, and it's just a very, very different way of coming into reminiscence, which actually works really, really well. So don't miss out on that one. What to do next? Well, use the Sparkle and the app as much as possible. Just get used to them, because in some care homes, many actually that we supply, the Daily Sparkle and the resources that we send with it are the only thing that the activity coordinators have every month. And they make do with it very, very well, because it's so versatile. It can be used in so many different ways. And only by using them a lot will you begin to sort of discover how it works best for you. I'd suggest you run at least one chit chat club or a discussion group every week. They are an amazing way of getting residents to share their memories. I didn't say before, but the chit chat club and the discussion groups, what they do is they give opportunity for the residents to get to know each other on a different level, on a deeper level. And I'll just share the example that I had when I started doing this, and there were I think there were 5 or 6 mainly ladies sat around the table. And one of the articles was on land girls, the women who worked on the farms, etc., during the war. And I remember one lady having had the article read to her. She said, I was a land girl. And then she started sharing about her experience when she was a land girl in Ipswich, or just outside of Ipswich. And and then she got interrupted by one of the other residents who said, well, I was a land girl too. I was a land girl just outside of Colchester. And they started having a little conversation with each other during the Chit Chat Club about being a land girl. Everybody else enjoyed that conversation and shared as well. But what it did was it provided a commonality between those 2 ladies. And afterwards, I was in that care home for most of the day, actually. And afterwards, I saw them chatting away like nothing on earth in the lounge. And by creating these opportunities for people to find out about each other and to get to know each other better, the residents I'm talking about, you provide them with an opportunity to make friends. And that can really serve you as an activity coordinator, because it means that they're engaging with each other. Your job is basically, you know, how do I provide a beautiful, stimulating experience for my residents? Well, getting other care staff to engage with residents is one way. Getting visiting relatives to engage with their loved ones is another way, and getting residents to form friendships with each other through commonalities is another way. And you know, I think the average in the UK is 34 residents to every activity staff. To do your job really well and to provide person-centered care for 34 people without any help is almost impossible. In fact, I think it is impossible. So you need to look at how you can use all these resources to involve other people and get other people to be part of the residents' joy. So that's what I would suggest there. Run at least one chit chat club every week. In most of our subscriber homes, they would run them twice a week. In a number of homes that I know, they run them every single day because they're that popular. They tend to run them at this in the same place at the same time, but they run them every single day. And I know that in many homes there's a queue before the chit chat club starts. People are arriving 10 minutes beforehand because they want to get their seat. So yeah, please do make the best of the chit chat clubs. They really do work very well. Our next webinar, I want to do a catch up on how you've got on with the Sparkles. So please do take some notes on any special connections that you made using the Sparkles or any of our resources, because sharing those, especially when you're sharing them with your peer group, like all the other Elizabeth Finn activity staff, it's a really great way of sharing knowledge so that everybody can do a better job going forward. But we will do a catch up probably in the first 10 minutes of the next webinar, where I'm going to ask you, how have you got on with your Sparkles? Please make notes of any questions or send in your questions directly to melanie@thedailysparkle.co.uk, and we've got a fantastic support team, so we'll make sure that we get a response to you and help you out wherever we can. Now, our next webinar will be on Tuesday, the 13th of August at 10:30, and so please make a note of that in your diaries. That webinar will also introduce you to a different resource that we've got, and one which we haven't even given you yet, but it's a very, very exciting resource. I think you're going to really enjoy it. Okay, it's time for questions. I think if you've got any questions right now, or you'd like to share anything, just type your name into the chat box and Andrew will unmute you. Okay, so I'm ready for your questions.
Okay, Mark, one sec. You're ready to go.
Hello.
Hi.
So our question is, because while we were talking, I tried to find the weekly for this month because we only were sent the August. I was trying to find it on your website and I failed. Where do I find it, the PDF version to download of the weeklies, please?
No, sorry. Right. That's a very good question. What happens is that every month we send out from the office a pack which arrives in your care home, should arrive usually somewhere between the 10th and the 15th of the month. So there will be one coming in the next few days for you, and that will have all your materials for the coming month. So this
we've
one
got
that
it. We've already got the August, but we never received the July.
that was probably because your subscription only started on the 1st of July.
Okay. Fair enough.
I can check that and find out more about that for you.
But we already have August, so
Right. So the July resource packs. I'm going to check on that, and we'll get it sent to you. So the in that pack, what you should find is the resource pack magazine, the resource pack activities booklet, which gives you a lot of different activity ideas ready to use, and you should find 2 printed weekly sparkles for every week of that month.
yes, correct.
Yeah. So those are the weekly sparkles that I was referring to, the printed weekly sparkles. They're the 2 that we get sent to you, to you already printed.
Okay, and we can't access this, so that's the hard copy only.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you like to access them?
But that will save you sending the July ones till the end of the month. But I think having them already printed is quite useful.
Yeah.
It saves us printing. So
okay. Well, if at any point you want to have the printed, you want to have the weekly sparkles sent to you so that you can print them off, just let us know. Just let us know.
Okay. Lovely.
Yeah?
Thank you very much, Chris.
Happy to do that.
Thanks.
Anybody else like to have a question? Just type in your name into the chat box and then we'll unmute you.
Emma's asking when the next webinar is. We just covered that, didn't we?
The next webinar, let me see. Why can't I get on there? Whoops, blimey.
13th of August, yeah. 10:30. Thank you, Steph.
Yeah, next webinar, 13th of August at 10:30.
Great.
Any other questions?
Fantastic.
No, you've all gone quiet. What can I say?
Thank you very much.
Well, I tell you what, I'd like to just unmute you one by one and see if you have any comments or anything that you'd like to say. So, Amanda, I see that you're on microphone right now.
Yeah, I am.
Amanda, was there anything that we covered which how was it, by the way? Was it helpful?
Well, we use it, all the things that you mentioned in terms of people's memories, etc. We would do that anyway, but we're using the Sparkle as an extra tool to do that, basically, with certain people that we think it would work with. So yes, I think it's going to be very useful.
Right.
Longer term. In this set you sent for the August, the hard copies for August. So the first one's the 5th to the 11th of August, the weekly Sparkle in a hard copy. I've only got 1 copy of that, 2 of the next week, 1 of the following week, and 2 of the following week. So I've not got 2 for all of them.
Okay, then that's very good information. So the 5th to the 11th.
Yeah, 1 for the 5th to the 11th of August, then 2 for the next week, only 2 for the next week, and then 1 for the final week. So sort of, I need 2 for each, really, for each week,
right.
really, to be able to use it.
The final week is the week beginning the 26th.
Yeah, week commencing 26th, I've only got 1, and week commencing the 5th, I've only got 1.
Okay.
And the other 2 weeks I've got 2, but 1 isn't going to be enough really, because I like to put them in certain places where I know.
Yeah.
And just a positive thing already, the song at the end where you have to put the words in, I've got 2 ladies that do that every day, and they sit and sing together and put all the words in. So that's a really positive thing with that already.
Oh, fantastic. That's lovely to hear. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Amanda.
Positive. Yeah, that's positive already. But in the main, it's going to be brilliant, I think. I'm really looking forward to cracking on with it and using it.
Great.
Be very positive.
Thank you very much. Let's ask Emma. Emma, I've unmuted you. Can you?
Oh yeah. Oh hello. Yeah. Hello there.
Hiya. How was everything?
Yeah, things are going well, thank you. We've had lots of good feedback from individual residents who, as you say, you know, a bit more isolated in their rooms. They seem to really enjoy it, and we've got a chit chat session every Wednesday morning that people are getting used to.
Lovely, lovely. Oh, that's good.
See my question that I just popped up about an audio version for those with sight difficulties. Is that available?
Unfortunately not. We did at one time try to create an audio version, but it actually was incredibly problematic getting the right format for it. So I'm afraid not. Andrew, I don't know if you've could quickly share about how there is. Do you have iPads?
Yeah, we do.
I think there is a reading facility through the iPad. Andrew, could you comment?
In the accessibility features, you can get it to play in different versions, different languages, and different sexes. So if you go into the accessibility settings in your iPhone, iPad, you will see the voiceover command where you can try that, and you can adjust the speed as well on the newer iPads of the voice.
Well, okay. We've got to go into accessibility, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, some very interesting features in there.
It's actually a very good resource, that actually, because it will read every single thing that you ask it to read. So it will also read from the daily newspaper.
Oh, okay. So, it is available like that. Okay, yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, we have got quite a few with sight difficulties, and they do tend to be people that feel a lot more isolated, aren't they?
Yeah,
thank you.
I can imagine. Welcome.
Also, can I just sorry, we haven't received our weekly sparkles for July at all.
Right.
We've got August, but we haven't received any for July.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll get that sorted out for you. Okay.
In the comments, I've just sent a link about how to make your iPad talk to you.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, Joanna, would you like to say anything?
Hello.
Hello, Joanna.
Hi, I just want to say quickly, because I have to go and run activity. I found it really useful. Actually, we've got some residents who enjoy them daily. I haven't started chit chats yet, but I will definitely start doing them, because it's just like I'm still waiting for another social engagement leader to work with me. So it's just I'm by myself all the time. But we will definitely start doing a little chit chat as well. I think it's a great idea.
Great, lovely, lovely. Thank you very much, Joanna. Judith, did you have any further comments or any of the gums that are there?
Right, very quickly, we're fortunate enough that we've already had the Daily Sparkle for the last 12 months.
All right.
And we're using it, but just sort of on an ad hoc, feeling our way with it and everything else. And we promoted this when we had one of our social engagement leader meetings at our head office, and said how good we'd found it. And I think now this is why all of the homes are having it.
Wow. Bravo. Well done.
So
You should do the webinar.
Daily Sparkle, but it's really good to listen to the extra things that we can do, have the app as well. I just wanted to make a comment that we've only received one copy of each weekly Sparkle for August, and we've not had an activity pack at all. We've just literally received one weekly Sparkle for each week in August.
That was all that was in the pack?
Yeah.
Blimey. Okay.
Start on the 5th of August, so we haven't got the one that goes, obviously it must have been in the July pack, the one that goes from the end of July up to the 4th of August. So we would appreciate a second copy, because yes, that's a great idea to put those by the signing in book.
I love it.
But yet we use it. We normally have a coffee morning twice a week, but whilst we've been listening to you, we've been chatting that we'll probably on our next planner put in a chit chat morning to replace one of those coffee mornings, and just relabel it, because we've found that our coffee mornings have been dropping off a bit. So perhaps just to reinvent them with that would be really good.
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, but we do find we're very fortunate here at Rashwood that we do have, there's Emma and myself that do the activities, but we also have another member of our team, Petra, who does our one-to-ones. And Petra works every day and uses these daily sparkles. We've got residents that request their own copy, because I understand that printing is an issue, the cost of printing. So we find that we can do 12 copies a day, and find that we can place those one on each of the nurses' stations, so that when the girls have a coffee break, they can have a quick glimpse through it. And also we have various residents that request a copy and enjoy having a copy. And we tend to keep yesterday's copy for family members that have requested copies.
Good idea. Good idea.
Do it way to try and use them.
Great idea. Thank you very much, Judith. I'll attend to you getting the
activity pack and an extra copy.
The August one, yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to have to disband now because we've got a bar to open.
Okay, well, you go then.
So I've got people up at the bar waiting for our word games and quiz at the bar, so we're going to have to go now. And look forward to you all on the 13th.
Yeah, indeed, and we'll send you a recording of this anyhow, so you've got it on your computers.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
And Marek, did you have anything further to say at all, or?
Well, I think I was already giving enough input. We are quite slow starting with because of everything else happening here in the lodge, but we have printed a copy for each of the care bays. We have a copy of a daily one in the reception when people come in. I've messaged all the staff and I've spoken to all the volunteers to grab a copy when they go to someone, because it is, as you mentioned, difficult to talk about the weather, and multi-generational conversations might end up school and stuff like that. So that's a really useful tool.
Right.
And we have been thinking of putting the weekly chit chat group already, and we definitely will now, and just find something, because it has to be repetitive, so it has to be same time and day, and this month again has been a little bit all over the place. But next month it'll be nice to have that.
Great. Well, I wish you the best of luck with it.
Thank you.
You'll have a lot of fun.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marek and Hilary.
Thank you.
Great.
Steph, are you there? Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Steph, you're the last one. So, any comments from yourself?
Similar to to some of the other homes, actually. I mean, we regularly do like a reminiscing morning. So what we've done now is we've made it at the same time every week, and this is where the sparkles have come into their own, because prior to that we used to get a reminiscing box from the local library, but obviously that's quite limited to what we can discuss. So these have come in really useful. I think in terms of feedback from the residents at the minute, haven't got too much to offer. They're starting to get used to it. The one we had last week, we had a really good discussion, and there was one of the residents that doesn't talk an awful lot. She really got into it, so that was lovely to see.
Lovely.
And from my point of view, and the webinar, it's really interesting to see what other things there are available, which I hadn't realised, particularly on the app. So yeah, all good.
All good. Great.
Yeah.
Well, people do take a while to get used to things, and you know, generally speaking, it takes about 3 months before you sort of have reached the residents that are going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, some people just take a little while longer. So persevere, and you'll
We
find
will.
that more and more people will do it. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steph, and thank you, everybody. You've been great, and I look forward to sending you the recording, and also to meeting you again on the 13th of August.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks
Bye.
very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 All right, Chris, they're waiting for us on the other line, so I'm going to quit this meeting and we'll rejoin the team meeting. Yeah.
Leave this meeting.
Welcome.